Hello and welcome to this very simple tutorial to get started on streaming using open broadcast software. Just as a note of clarification, I've lowered my system resolution to 1280 by 720 so that I can show everything in that resolution up close, and so it should be clear within the video. Alright, first things first, you're going to want to go to obsproject.com in order to install Open Broadcaster software if you don't already have it. Other types of streaming programs exist, such as XSplit, but I use OBS because it's free and I know how to use it pretty well. So download it for the system that you need, and you should be getting two versions of it. There will be a 32-bit client as well as a 64-bit client. The different clients are dependent on what kind of programs you're going to be running. So, for example, if you're going to use game capture or something like that, then you want to match the program bit rate, the bit that what you're going to be playing is. So if your program is 32-bit, most programs are going to be 32-bit. Then use the 32-bit client. In fact, that's what I'm using right here. So this is the main control. Well, this is the main control panel. You can see there's sort of a cascading preview, but we can turn off that preview by going into Preview and Enable View. Alright, now that the preview is gone, you can be less distracted. When you open up Open Broadcast software, the first thing you're going to want to do is open your settings. You can get to it from clicking the Settings button down here under the microphone, or going up to the top here and clicking on Settings. In here, you'll be able to choose your setting profiles. For example, what I have right now is direct to file. This is a profile that I set up for specifically just recording a video and not streaming to any particular site. But you can make different profiles for different purposes, and these will allow you to quickly change your settings at any moment. Encoding is basically how you want your video and audio to be encoded. By default, you're going to be using the X264 codec, and you probably won't have access to the other kinds of options here. For basic streaming, I would recommend you use what's known as CBR, constant bitrate. This allows you to choose sort of the bitrate that you want at all times. If you don't use it, however, then you can use what's known as quality balance. This is sort of like a vague rating that will try to approximate what kind of bitrate you need based on how much, say, motion is happening or the lighting in whatever source you're using. You can play around with this and see how it works. In all honesty, though, I think it's better to use something that's constant so it's not trying to move around so much. CBR padding, I just leave this on. The more important thing you need to be aware of is the max bitrate. Now, max bitrate should be at least a little bit below whatever your current upload speed is. Assuming that you're going to be streaming through a website, you're going to want to find out what your speed is for your upload, your internet connection. So, for example, I can attempt to begin a test here. It will test my download speed. Eventually it will get to the upload speed, whatever your upload speed is will be in megabits per second. That means times that by 1,000 to find out how many kilobits per second you can actually upload. This video, if I wanted to, I didn't need to make it so, I could like make it any bitrate I wanted, CPU being my limiting factor. Okay, so I'm able to upload 6 megabits per second. So if that's the case, then assuming that I'm not going to be using my internet for much else, I would probably want to set this to maybe about 5,000. But just by default, I keep things at 3,000 so that I know I have plenty of bandwidth to work with. How much bitrate you add in here is going to determine the general video quality that you're going to have available. Alright, the audio encoding, you're going to want to choose AAC. This is, as far as I know, lossless compared to MP3 format. Your bitrate should probably be anywhere between 96 and 192. I like to use 128, no particular reason. Format, there's a difference, 44.1 versus 48. 44.1 being CD quality, 48 being DVD quality. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Basically, whatever your sound card is currently set to, you should probably just match that. Stereo or mono, obviously I would prefer stereo, but maybe there are reasons why you don't want stereo audio to be going on. I do not want to apply that. Broadcast settings is where you can choose from either live stream or file output only. If it's file output only, like in this case, then you're going to choose a file path, and this is basically just recording it to a file that you can edit later or upload, say, to YouTube later on. If you use live stream, however, then you're capable of choosing a streaming service such as Twitch or YouTube or Hitbox or any number of these kinds, even custom. And you can choose custom services. You can even choose the server for certain services. In my case, I use either Twitch or Hitbox, but you can do whatever. The play path or stream key is something that I'll get to in a moment. It's basically a unique key that's given to you by the service. You copy paste it into here so that OBS knows where to send your data. Auto reconnect and auto reconnect timeout have to do with the fact that if you somehow disconnect from the server, it will automatically sense that and it will try to reconnect automatically. If you check this, automatically save stream to file, then this will mean that you're also recording a file onto your computer at the same time. This may use up more resources, however, so if you feel like you don't want to use a lot more CPU and you don't want to like write things to your hard drive, then I would recommend that you don't do this. In the case of Hitbox or Twitch, I'm pretty sure that you can save your streams to a file themselves, or at least in a file that can be sent to YouTube. So if you want to record highlights, then you should do it through the service and not through here, but it's up to you. Okay, the next most important thing is your video settings. You'll choose your graphics card or video adapter, and you also want to choose your base resolution. The base resolution is going to be what your stream is actually streaming at. In my case, I'm choosing 1280 by 720. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio, and it works well for just about anything, really. The reason why is that even in a video, it sort of scales a lot of things, such as the UI or, you know, the graphics. The graphics settings isn't bad, but it's not like they're super good. But if you don't have the bandwidth, then you know, it might be a little bit more difficult to stream higher resolutions. Let's see. Oh, right. So you can also have it match your monitor. So this will match it to whatever your monitor is at a given time. What this means, though, is that since most people's monitors are going to be 1920 by 1080 resolution, and it's basically going to be streaming at that resolution. If that's fine with you, if you want to stream things full screen, it still might be a lot, and it might be a strain on your system. In that case, you can choose something called resolution downscale, and it allows you to downscale your screen resolution, or the base resolution that you're playing a game at, and it allows you to only stream a smaller resolution. So in this case, if I were to choose a 1.5 resolution downscale from what I'm streaming right now, it would be at a widescreen 480. And, you know, it's going to be a downgrade visually speaking, but it's going to perform a lot better. There will also be filters that you can choose from on how the resolution will downsample. In my case, however, if I'm going to be recording something at 1280 by 720 anyways, then I don't need to resolution downscale if I want the full quality. FPS is your frames per second. Although you may be tempted to want to stream things at a very fluid 60 frames per second, that's double the frames that your computer needs to render at any given time. Depending on how your bitrate quality is, and of course your resolution, this can put a heavy strain on your system. Therefore, this is why I like to stream at 1280 by 720. It's still considered HD, and at forgive the phone. And at 30 frames per second, you're still getting a relatively fluid experience, even though it won't look exactly the same as what I'm seeing. Trying to do 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames per second is actually such a strain on my system that I use up almost all my CPU resources just with Open Broadcast software. So obviously I don't want to have that happen. Disable arrow. This is for since Windows 7 has the arrow scheme, which has sort of like this everything's fluid or looking, and sort of you won't see it here because I have it disabled, but you definitely want to disable arrow if that's an option. Okay, audio. This is where you choose your desktop audio device, and you can choose another audio device which defaults to thinking it's a microphone. It doesn't actually matter in my setup, and I might do this in another video just to explain, but you really only need one audio device anyways. But if you want to do your mixing within OBS itself, then you can choose what your desktop audio is, such as your speakers, and you could choose your microphone from here as well. And furthermore, you can also choose things such as giving your desktop a boost or your mic a boost if either one is quiet compared to the other. You can also mic sync offset. This is something that takes some, I guess, some trial and error, because your microphone might be out of sync with the video. And if that happens, then it's just it just has to do with the way your system is mixing video and audio together. I don't have to worry about that because I'm doing all of my audio mixing using a different program called Voicemeeter, but I'll get to that in another tutorial. Hotkeys, these are for your own convenience, whether you want to use a push to talk for your stream, and whether you want mute and unmute buttons, start and stream buttons on your keyboard, just so that you have a quick way of being able to turn these things on and off if you don't want to go to the control panel. in advance. Now this is going to differ based on your streaming service. In fact, I believe that there is a tutorial on something on Hitbox. So if we go to Hitbox, for example, then we can go ahead and check, I believe it's live stream settings. No, okay, it was probably, no. Okay, well, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's a place where it actually suggests how you want to stream something. Like, for Hitbox, these are the recommended settings. At least, I can't remember. Actually, I can't remember if these are the actual recommended settings. I have to go into a different profile to check. But usually you want to use multi-threaded optimizations if at all possible. Your process priority should probably be normal or above normal. Scene buffering time is basically how much time it's going to be taking to buffer your video stream, sort of render it, before it actually sends it off to the server. Now, while having a lower buffering time is always going to be better for less latency, you sometimes need to have this buffer time in order to have a good quality. Your CPU preset should probably be on the very fast setting. There's a lot of other settings here, but so far I think that that's like the recommended. Your encoding profile should be high. Your keyframe intervals happen at multiples of seconds. I'm not exactly sure why they recommend 2, but I assume that there's a reason. You can also put in custom settings here, but none of that actually matters too much. Yeah, a lot of these settings won't really matter, I don't think, unless you're explicitly told otherwise. You should be fine just starting off with this. These settings you don't need to worry about. A microphone gate you probably don't need to worry about at all. I'm not sure what this scene switcher is, I've never used it. Okay, so once you have those settings, well, set up, then what you want to do is, first of all, you're going to find this is your control panel. This is where your preview will be as well. But a preview only happens if you click the preview stream button, or if you've started recording or started streaming. There's 2 things you need to worry about in here. First of all, microphone and desktop audio sources. You can turn them down and then up and down. You can mute by clicking this. You can open up this one. I keep this one muted because all of my audio is actually going through the microphone input, and I'll get to that when it comes to audio mixing, but not in this video. But you can mix these and change the volume to however you see fit. So how OBS works is that you have scenes and you have sources. A scene, which you can right-click and then essentially choose the order of and add a scene. You can give it a name, so here's scene 2. Scenes are basically a collection of sources. And sources are basically just things that you're plopping into your video. So if we turn our preview on, we can actually see the entire control panel here is in the preview window. I have a source called monitor capture. You can actually click add, and you can choose from a few different things. Window capture will capture a specific window on your computer. the window has to be open first before you can choose it from window capture. You give a name to the source and then you choose which window you want. Now in this case it's not giving me any window capture options. And I think that the reason why is that all of my windows, in this case my Chrome browser or Skype or Steam, all of them are 64-bit programs, and since I'm doing the 32-bit version of OBS, then they won't show up. Whereas 64-bit will show up with that. Basically, you need to make sure that there's enough compatibility, I think. But you can choose some options, such as getting the inner window or the entire window, which means you get the borders and everything in them. You can capture layered windows, you can capture your mouse cursor, or maybe hide your mouse cursor if you would rather, and you can set its resolution as well. But in my case, I chose monitor capture, and if I go into the properties, you can choose which monitor, and you can capture the mouse cursor in this case. So what you're seeing in the video, in this preview, and everything actually, is my entire monitor. And you can add all sorts of other sources as well. So for example, I can add in text. I can choose the font. I can choose the color. So for example, I can choose some blue. I can give it a certain opacity. Let's make it like not completely solid. We can have a font size. There's a font size right there. And we can just enter in the text. Just a simple hello world. And you'll see that the text is now a source that's being displayed on the scene. So if you want to take the text, then you can position it, you can center it, you can right click and choose position and size in order to do some quick centering or reset size or fit to screen. If I choose fit to screen, it'll probably blow up. Yeah, so it doesn't look very good because it's a small font that you're now putting up to a very high area. So what you can do though is that you can click Edit Scene. Edit Scene allows you to click sources and then manipulate them within the scene. So with Edit Scene clicked, I can now click and drag my sources around. In this case, this is text, but it could be an image, it could be another monitor, it could be a game, it could be a window, and you can manipulate it in whatever way you see fit so that it appears on the stream in whatever way you see fit. You can permanently delete sources. That takes them away. If you don't want to just delete a source, you can hide it. So if I click this check mark right here at monitor capture, then boom. All of a sudden, you don't see a thing because now there's no sources being shown. So you can't even see the preview. But what I can do is that I can bring up something else. So I can choose, say, an image, right? And let's say that I want to choose this one. Hello there. So you can also just manipulate images in exactly the same way. You can resize and you can move them around, and you can, fit them to screen, or you can reset. Although you're probably, actually now I just noticed that you're probably not seeing anything in the preview whatsoever. So turn on monitor capture again, we can go ahead and move this out of the way, or at least somewhat out of the way. And another thing is that you can put sources behind or on top of them as well. So if we move monitor capture above the image, then all of a sudden the monitor capture is, well, above the image, and the image sort of disappears. But you can, once again, you can like change the opacity of an image, say to like 40%, and if I move it back up, then the image is there, but it's ghostly. Take monitor capture out, it's still like, you know. Okay. Well, enough fooling around in that case. What we're going to do next is choose a source such as a game. So let's take, first of all, if you're going to be switching scenes a lot, so for example, if I click scene 2, then it will do sort of a fade to whatever scene 2 is. Scene 2 can have different sources going on, so this allows you to manage sort of what you have going on at any given time. So in scene 2, I'm not going to do it in scene 2, let's do it in scene 1. So there is a few other sources here: image slideshow, video capture device for if you have like such as well, video capture device. I don't, but you may. Game capture, this is important, and this is what I use. This is where you choose an application in order to have it seamlessly streaming. Like, it actually hooks into the game and doesn't stream anything outside of the game, if that makes sense. So you can choose some applications here, but what you want to do is more often than not, like if it's going to be your only source, then game capture is fine. But if you want the most performance, then you may want to do global sources. So a global source is something that is sort of loaded for all scenes at all times. If you add something as a global source, then you can add a global source and then whatever name you give it, and this means that it will have a seamless transition from scene to scene. So let's go ahead and start up a game. Let's go ahead and just do what am I looking for here? I'm actually not sure. I should have probably thought about what I would play beforehand, but I will attempt Borderlands, because I know that I think I usually play this in 720p beforehand anyways. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm capturing the entire monitor, which is kind of not the best way of streaming specific games, especially if it might break.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about the Come on, skip this shit.
NVIDIA.
Fucking okay, so splash screens that force you to watch them is one of the most annoying things in the world. Chances are you're hearing that. Oh wow, I forgot how good this game actually looks on high resolution. Anyways, you probably don't see the game just yet because, well, I've just got monitor capture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off monitor capture, just for the moment. I'm going to take a global source. Actually, I'm going to show monitor capture, and then I'll show you how I add a global source. Add game capture. We'll just call this Borderlands. Borderlands is now an application in there, so you have to have the game open first in order to add it. But once you've added it once, you've saved its settings. So now let's add global source Borderlands. Okay. I'm not sure that this is actually going to record correctly because the video is not at the right settings. But now it might be. Okay, I'm actually not sure that you can see the game because I don't have the game in windowed mode, apparently. I hope it actually has a windowed mode. I thought it did have a windowed mode.
Oh, come on! Get down!
For many purposes, I actually do keep the game... I keep games in... If I'm going to stream them, I usually have them in windowed mode so that I can multitask. Ah! Okay, so it was showing. I just alt-tabbed out. And you may notice... well, if you alt-tab out of something, it may freeze the source. But game capture requires you to sort of have the window active. Like, you have to have the window open in order for it to actually be seen. So if I uncheck the Borderlands source, then all of a sudden it disappears. I can bring it back, disappear, bring it back, disappear. Obviously, if you want the best quality, you want to be able to match the game's resolution with whatever you're streaming. So if you're streaming at 1280 by 720, then you should make sure your game is maybe 1280 by 720. And that makes it easy. If you're actually playing with your monitor at its full resolution, unlike what I'm doing right here, then you might have a game like Borderlands or anything else in windowed mode, and have that windowed mode set to 1280 by 720. By doing this, you can be playing the game, seeing this control panel preview, and also be able to, well, let me put it to you like this. You can have your preview on, say, the side of the screen, and you can have the game somewhere over here. Note that my resolution is really bad right now, just so that you can see everything that's going on. I don't want to like have to downsample my normal resolution down to something that's actually viewable. But you can take the you can basically play a game and see a preview and then see a chat screen. That's just the best way of multitasking things. The best part about game capture, I've found, as opposed to just trying to window capture, is that it also... how should I put this? By doing game capture, you also don't get any of the superfluous overlays that might be occurring, especially when it comes to, say, Steam. Like, if you're playing a game on Steam, then through game capture, as far as this is from my own testing, but I could be wrong. If you're doing game capture, then it only captures the game. It won't capture things such as achievement pop-ups or friends list pop-ups in the corner or anything else overlay-wise. It just doesn't. It captures the video and the audio just from that source. Nothing else. Not even the overlays. So, whether you value that or not, when you're streaming, it might be beneficial to know that. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers the basics of getting started streaming. There's a few other things to keep in mind, is that when you take a stream source, first of all, try to make sure that it's like fitting to screen, or reset the size or whatever. If your source is of a different resolution than what your base resolution is, then you're going to have to resize things either manually or cut things off, or, you know, just do a little bit of editing with the edit scene button. If you turn off the edit scene button, then you can't accidentally click on anything in the preview screen in order to change anything. Your preview can also be one-to-one mode. One-to-one mode basically means that, well, what you see is just a little, you know, whatever size window you get. But scale to fit allows you to see the entire scene as you have it, and it will scale down. It's just a preview, and it's there for your editing purpose. Oh, a few more things before I sign off here. Down here we have the amount of time that we've been recording, which is way too long for what should have been a simple tutorial. And dropped frames. This will tell you if, when you're streaming something over the web, if some frames just literally didn't get sent. If you're getting any dropped frames whatsoever, I would recommend that you either lower your resolution. Well, more often than not, you're going to want to lower your bitrate. But it may help that you lower your resolution, lower your frames per second, and of course keep your bitrate well below your upload speed. This will show your frames per second down here as well. This will tell you if you're actually sort of dipping below. And this is how many kilobits per second you're actually recording or streaming. Mine keeps fluctuating here, probably for some reason or another, but it's still within normal range. Alright, so this is the most basic way to get started. If you have any questions, then just ask and let me know. Oh, and I would just do a quick plug here for Voicemeeter. This is the audio mixing software that I'm using. It's a bit complicated to... I mean, it's not too complicated, but I might have to do a quick little tutorial for that. And by quick, I mean actually quick, because already we're going on almost 40 minutes, and I can't believe that this took this long, because it really is actually simple. It's just, I guess I wanted to go through and explain things a little bit better. Alright, cool. So, with that out of the way, you now know how to record something to whatever profile, whether direct to a file or up to Twitch or Hitbox or Ustream or what have you. You can use this for, even though this is popular for recording video games, you can do it for just about anything, and it's like a production suite, so go nuts. Thank you for watching. This is Noble Pirate signing out.